You're obviously live here from the Dirty Mo Media studio, and you're on our Dirty Mo Media YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, have a lot of fun while we're here. We want to get this Ask Junior kicked off with a thank you to Xfinity Mobile. You know that the speeds these days are booming with Xfinity Wi-Fi. As fast as a V8 engine and as reliable as an elite pit crew. A lot of racing puns.
Booming.
Yeah. Xfinity Wi-Fi gives you the power and speed of NASCAR in your home. Choose the right plan for you, and you're off to the races with the best streaming experience for NASCAR and all your favorite sports or video games or anything else. Music. Man, I've got this Xfinity internet at my house, and it's working pretty awesome.
Booming.
Yeah, booming. I've had all kinds of, I've talked about this every time, man, but I got to just do it because it's my own personal experience.
Well, that's
I've got,
good.
Yeah. I've got my ring cams and the cams for the girls' bedrooms, their baby cams. We still use those, which I'm kind of I'm debating on like time to take them out. Might be.
Nicole's sneaky. I don't know if
I
I take hers
yeah,
out
I might
yet.
keep Nicole's in there. But we have like probably, 30 different connections to the Wi-Fi between TVs and all the different stuff.
Yeah.
And not only is it strong enough to handle all of the bandwidth, but it never drops. It never goes down. And I mean, we're at the end of the line.
So you're saying it's very reliable.
Yeah, it's very reliable. Xfinity Wi-Fi. Don't just raise the bar. Their streaming service is in overdrive. Xfinity, they're a proud premier partner of NASCAR. We talked a lot about Rockingham, the Xfinity race, Rockingham, the track. We debated about where I guess NASCAR is going to take us back to Homestead for the championship race next year or 2026, and then after that it's going somewhere different. Where should it go? We talked about the Hall of Fame a little bit. They got a new class that's getting voted in. There's some nominees to decide on who gets in and who doesn't. We discussed that a little bit. Not an easy decision.
Apparently, Cletus has posted
The video
of the Swans. And, the chat is got lots of questions. One of them was just, I know we talked about it briefly, but we'll do it for the chat here. How's Amy dealing with the Swans? Somebody wanted to know.
Amy loves the Swans. So Cletus came by yesterday and gave me a gift. If you want to watch this video, it's on his YouTube handle. I guess it's released. But it's pretty funny. They're getting these. They went and bought these campers that they're going to stay in at Talladega when he goes there for the ARCA race, and you had to spend less than $5,000 on your camper. They're rough, and but they're going to drive them all the way to Talladega. And they stopped by the house yesterday after running their campers at the drag strip in Mooresville, and he said, "I got a gift for you." And so in the back of this truck were 2 swans. He's got swans. Somebody gave him swans as a gift just recently. And so we put them down in the pond, and they're kicking ass. I went by there this morning. Me and Isla dropped off some swan food, and I'll go see them this afternoon.
So the girls are probably going to love having them.
The girls are in love. They're majestic, beautiful, big old animals. And Amy thought it was awesome. And so we're challenging everybody when you watch the episode later. Comment how we should thank Cletus and his family. What would be a nice gift in return?
Yep.
Family-oriented gift.
Yeah, it's got. I mean, if he gives a gift that everybody loved, you got to.
Yep.
First question: you mentioned going after Kurt Busch at Rockingham last week. Was there ever a time you wrecked someone and knew they were coming for you?
No, not that I can remember. Let me think about that. Yeah, well, I was a bit surprised by this one. I think the only one I can remember, this probably never happened in my Xfinity career or my Cup career, but I was racing late models, and there was a guy named Jerry Williams that won the Mid-Atlantic Championship one year. So he was a good racer, and had some good years and won a lot of races around the South Carolina area. Anyways, we was running about 150 lapper at Myrtle Beach one night, and I'm pretty green still. Only got about maybe a year late model racing under my belt. It's actually my first year, honestly. We get down in the corner, down into turn one, and I just got in there a little too deep and hit him in the left rear and spun us both out. It bent my drag link, so that's how hard I hit him. So I'm out of the race, and I don't know what happened to him. Maybe he's out as well. But he was mad. I didn't really realize how mad he was. Went down there a couple weeks later, and I am a half a lap ahead of second place. I've got 10 laps to go. I'm going to win this feature. It's a 100-lap feature at the beach. And I catch him going down the back straightaway, and he pulls to the inside. We go down into turn 3, and I see him, like, not making the corner. And I see him I drove all the way up to the wall to get away from him, and he still ran into me and spun me out. And I ended up running 4th, I think, in that race. But I was going to win that feature that night, and Jerry turned me in turn 3 and 4. And so, remember the Calvin piss on stuff stickers?
Oh, yeah.
Like pissing on a Ford emblem or whatever. So there's pictures of this out there. The last race of the year was the next race in November. All-American 400 used to happen down at the beach, South Carolina 400 that they call it today. And we would go down there, and late model stocks ran a 200-lapper maybe. And then the All-Pros also ran a 200-lap race. So it was a big event. A lot of late model stocks would show up. And I had that Calvin pissing on JW, his initials, on the C post of my car for that race. I was such a shit.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Draft's coming up this week. Washington had a good season. Are you excited for the draft? You can do anything, or is there like a player that you'd hope they get?
Mm-hmm. The Commanders are like picking 29th or something like that, 28th, something way back.
Position for you.
That's what happens when you're decent.
So, yeah. So I'm not gonna put a lot of. I'm not going to get all excited about it like when you got a top 15.
Yeah, it's not like you're getting the first round.
You get a top 15 pick or a top 10 pick, you're like, all right, we got to nail this one. This guy, we can't miss here. But I don't know. We may trade back and get some more picks because we don't have many picks. I think we only got 5 picks this year. So,
TJ, what about the Bills?
I don't know. They've drafted really well over the last handful of years with Brandon Beane and they've got like 10 picks, I think.
Damn.
They've got a lot of picks and they got like 2 seconds, 2/3, and they got a lot of doubles of the mid-round picks. So I don't know if they'll trade. I think they'll start filling holes here on the defense and maybe look for some more weapons if something falls in their lap later late in the first. Or sometimes you can get some teams that want to trade into the first round and you can get quite a good, repayment for it. So you trade back, but I like what they do. I'm always kind of surprised what they do. They never really do what I think they're going to do. So I'm excited to watch and see.
Yeah.
JBC says the Commanders need a defensive end.
We do. We need an edge rusher. We need an edge rusher and defense is, we need some defense.
I think the Eagles showed why the defensive line and edge rushers are so important in the Super Bowl, getting after Mahomes as much as they did. And how about A.J. Brown's car getting stolen?
Yeah. Did he get it back? Because, he basically told the guy, he's like, hey, if I find you, it is what it is. I was like,
it's got to be hard to move like a really nice car.
I know, but I bet that thing was already in pieces.
Cut to pieces.
When he sent that tweet.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Don't know if you
I don't
get
think
that
he's
back.
going to get that back.
I don't think so either.
Not a good way to wake up.
I will tell you, I had a car stolen once, and I got this hunting land and out in the Midwest, and next to the hunting land was this this home for troubled boys, right? And it's just like it's a place for for them to try to get their lives back on track. And I think the story is that one of the counselors there had decided that he wanted to go home. Not one of the boys that was staying there, but one of the counselors, I believe. And he decided that he wanted to go home. And so he went over to where our farm was and took my truck. So I got a Chevrolet farm truck, 200,000 miles on it, just an old beat up truck that we drive around. Drove it 3 states away and left it in a Advance Auto Parts parking lot. And then what happened is I bought it back from the auction. So it went to a car auction, like a dealer, where a dealer would go and buy used cars. And so we learned about where the truck was, but we had, I believe, already collected our insurance, and so the insurance company is going to send it to auction. And so we tracked it to that auction and ended up buying it back.
Did you make money off of the deal? I think statute of limitations are up.
Maybe.
Speaking of cars, I think you said on Bussin' with the Boys that you only keep like 12 now, and if you're going to get one, you have to get rid of. Yeah. Is there a car that you regret getting rid of?
No, not really. I don't like cars sitting around and not driving them, and because the tires get square.
Yeah, a lot of things.
Yeah, you jump in there. I got in a car one time to drive it to Martinsville, and man, I was fine, and then I got to the interstate, and when I got up to like 70 miles an hour, that thing started shaking and bouncing the steering wheel, and I'm so mad. And, not at nobody but myself. And I'm like, I can't, if the shit can't drive good and I'm not driving it enough, I need to get rid of it. And so that's why I kind of keep it to a limit of a certain amount of cars. I just have stuff laying around that you don't use, kind of gives me anxiety. And, but I think the one car that I want, that I hope to get one day, is probably a Buick Grand National. Or maybe a Monte Carlo SS. Like the 87 or Aero Coupe.
Good looking car.
Yeah.
People are putting in what they'd want: 68 Barracuda, 56 Chevy Bel Air.
Yep. All good.
All some good ones.
Yep.
Speaking of Rockingham being a standalone, when you were driving the Busch Series, what was your favorite standalone event where Cup Series didn't race?
Man, we did so many. That was something I wanted to bring up earlier in the show, but I didn't. Is this kind of what we need to be doing? Everybody seemed to really enjoy having the Xfinity Series be the one in the spotlight for the weekend, and it was a great weekend with a great racetrack and a revival of sorts for Rockingham. So that plays a big part of it. But I don't know if this is a financial model that could work for the team owners. So when we go to Indy, let's talk about Indy. This is a great example. When we were racing at Indianapolis let's just go back several years where things were really awesome. A lot of people going to the racetrack, right? But we would race at Indy with the big cars, the Cup cars. And then we raced at the IRP, ORP, whichever you want to call it, with the trucks in the Xfinity cars. And then they moved the Xfinity over to the big track. And a lot of people, there was a conversation of, man, I don't like this. I don't like the Xfinity cars here. They put on a better race at IRP, the little half-mile short track. I want them to go back to that. We heard that loud and clear, and it was a very even today, I think people might argue that they'd rather see the Xfinity cars and the trucks race at IRP. And but talking to team owners, like I am as well, my sister Kelly would tell me this too. She's like, we can't get a partner to sponsor the race at IRP. But if we take our car and race it at the big track, we've got people lined up that want to be on the car then. So the business model, just saying, man, listen, I love the idea of taking the trucks to South Boston and all these short tracks around the world. right? And maybe having of course, having a big Daytona and a big Charlotte and a couple big races, but running it primarily at, short tracks. I love that idea, but that ain't a good business model for the series or the owners. The owners can't really make that work. Now, that doesn't really answer the question you're asking me, but, it would be kind of cool to see the cars. Now that it doesn't really seem to matter, I guess, as much as it used to, in terms of like like we would take the Xfinity cars and race a companion event with NASCAR at the Cup Series, because we were leaning on that at track attendance and all of the great things that the Cup Series brought in terms of eyeballs and exposure. And I don't know if that's as critical today as it was back then, but Kelly might argue, we're not gonna advocate to go race at IRP because it puts on a better race when we can sell, $100,000 more sponsorship racing at Indy, at the big track. And so I would love us to have standalone events. I would love us to go back to South Boston and some of those racetracks and have real 300 lap short track Xfinity races. Dude, I'd be all over that.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to keep it close to Cup, right? Because of pit crews and stuff.
That's another great problem, right? If we separate from the Cup mothership, right? We lose exposure, we lose sponsorship dollars, we lose just a lot of attention that'd be around our event for that weekend. Crews, pitting cars, all that stuff becomes more challenging, more expensive, right? Teams are going to be flying people back and forth and around, right? So all of that would cost more. Yeah, so it does present challenges that, we could just sit here and create a long list, I'm sure.
We have a fan said they're going to Talladega for the first time. Any recommendations on where they should go to eat?
Talladega?
Yeah.
Off the grill?
Yeah, I didn't know if there's any hole-in-the-wall places down there.
I'm sure there are, but I never
know,
really.
TJ, if you've
the town is not like next door.
No.
And so, what's the next interstate?
Oxford and Anniston are the next ones up.
How far are they? They're like 30 minutes?
Nah, they're like just 15 to 20, but they've grown up a lot. There's a lot of chain restaurants there now.
No, man, I would just sit there and...
You don't leave the track when you go there. That's a place you just stay.
Yeah. So, Talladega is, you're going to go there, camp, get the Flatiron out, cooking breakfast, cooking lunch, cooking dinner, bring all the foods. That's the commitment at Talladega.
I agree.
What's this is for both of you guys, sim race. What's one thing that translates from sim racing to actual racing the best?
Yeah, a lot.
Well, what's one that is the most?
I would say what I think sim racing can do for a young driver is develop racecraft. And when I say racecraft, that can mean a lot of things. But what I think, I'm going to put you in any race at Daytona and Talladega on the simulator and just turn you loose and just let you just make all kinds of bad decisions, right? About getting in this line, pushing this person, getting this run, using this run, whatever. And we can sit there and I can sit there and let you run, because that racing online on the sim will put you in all of the same situations that you're going to face in the real car. And you're going to have to make these decisions and choices of what to do all the way, throughout the entire lap. And I think that the sim can help you cipher through choices that you shouldn't make and things you shouldn't do, so that you don't take those to the racetrack and actually do them in a real race. And so it'll teach you patience on your choices. It'll teach you to relax and not have to, not have to feel like you need to be doing all the time, creating opportunity for yourself. Sometimes, man, at those racetracks like Daytona, Talladega, the opportunities present themselves, right? If you just sit there and be patient, the opportunities is obvious, right in front of you.
Yeah, it just shows up.
Yeah, and so that's what happens too in sim racing. And And so I think that the sim racing and racing online with iRacing can help you develop some of the early stages and the very cornerstone basics of what great racecraft is. And specifically at Daytona and Talladega. Now, when you go to race another race at a bigger track like Charlotte or even some of the smaller tracks, there's a patience required to be fast in iRacing, and it's more related to the tire and temperature and how to make a quick lap while also taking the best care of the tire you possibly can, so you have longevity and speed. And so there's a lot of basic patience and judgment and smarts that are developed on the sim. And so, and I feel confident. Like 20 years ago, I would never think I can take this kid that's really fast and put him in a race car and in a couple of days have a pretty decent little, have a kid doing some pretty decent laps, right? I would never think that in the past because I just didn't think that the sim was creating the opportunity for the racecraft to be learned. But today, it is, because I think the kids that are on the sim are paying such close attention to the real thing. They try to emulate it, right? And then they also see a lot of mistakes get made on the sim and in the real world, and they try to emulate it. And they know more. They're more savvy, and so it's impressive, man. I could get on the sim 10 years ago and drive right to the front at Talladega and Daytona and get on there and have fun and do well. It's tough and competitive in any field these days when you get on the sim, when you get on the rig.
It is.
Man, you hop in a race at Talladega and Daytona, you better be ready. And it's not as easy as it used to be. It's because everybody's just gotten smarter,
Yep.
But, yeah, I think the sim is really good at developing good judgment and choices and trying to get to the finish, trying to avoid all the mistakes and bad choices to get to see the finish line.
TJ, what's something like you work with Carson?
There's other kids that I've worked with, a couple kids in the Cars Tour that have ran there, and you just work on passing and how to set up passes, and you don't have to run over a guy in the middle of the corner to pass him. You don't have to drive in there and be all over him. You can roll in there and start your pass on the exit and things like that. It's like patience. Like, you don't have to win the race every single corner. And
it's so funny, man. I will now I will watch. There are some kids that I say kids. There are some guys that have raced online. That's not like how they, learn to race cars, but they spend a ton of time racing online, and they don't seem to become better at choices and judgment. If they're, so there's like, you can learn your racecraft, but there's also people that it's just they just have an innate personality.
You have to apply it.
Right. And like I see some guys that'll get on the sim. They're regulars in either the truck or the Xfinity series, right? And they'll get on the sim and they drive a little carelessly. And then when they get in the real car, they drive the same way. And they don't seem to hadn't clicked in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree with you. There's a couple real fast kids.
Yeah.
We say kids, but they're not kids really. But
yeah, they're fast. But like
it's not fine. It's not tuned all the way up.
It's hard to explain. It really is. But then there's people that learn to be smooth and really sharp on the rig, and then that's also the way they are on the real racetrack. And I don't know if they learn that on the rig and take it to the real racetrack, but or it's just sometimes it's just a personality trait. Some people just drive a certain way, and that's just who they are inside, and there's nothing you can do about that. Nothing, you can't change it. And they think there's nothing wrong with it. They think that that's just how they're supposed to do it.
Yeah, for a guy like Carson, he's very young. He's really fast on iRacing. He knows where to be, and so the only thing you really do on there is try to create the scenarios that he might see in real life. Put cars around him in areas so when he's in that scenario, he already has an idea on what it's like. So they don't get a lot of practice time nowadays. So you try to put him in situations that might come up. So when that situation happens, he makes the best decision. You already have a notebook for it instead of having to learn it right then. So, but Carson's really fast on there, and he's super smooth too.
The road courses are perfect. So that makes perfect sense to me. So I don't know if I'm telling you something that's completely obvious, but it might not be obvious to you. If you've never been to Road America or Road Atlanta or the Chicago Street Course, or if you're going to go run these racetracks, that time on your sim at home in iRacing is insanely valuable.
Yeah,
insane. And so I've told this story before, but we were back when I was teammates with Jimmy. We were testing at Road Atlanta and doing some road course stuff, and I'd never raced there. And Jimmy had to do something on the second day, and Chad called me and asked me if I would test their car, and I was like, hell yes. And then I was like, oh shit, man, I'm gonna jump in Jimmy's car, and I've never run this track. I need to get up to speed. I don't want to waste half. Usually when you go test, you waste the first half of the day just learning the track. And so I ran on the simulator for hours and hours the day before, and when I got there, I was within 3 or 4 tenths right off the track, right off the trailer with Jimmy. And so by noon, we were running identical time. They were like, "You've never been here? You can't." They couldn't believe that I'd never ran there. I was like, "No, man." But I was like, I ran on the simulator, and it's like deja vu. As soon as you pull out on the track, you're like, yep, I've been here before. And all the shift points were within 50 feet of each other. So I kind of knew where I needed to be with the shifter and the gears to be in for every corner. And so it was easy to get right up to it. And so if you're going to go race at a road course, which, I think, if you're looking at the totality of the world, like 85 or 90% of the tracks are road courses. So, it's very applicable for all types of motorsports and drivers that are racing in motorsports in the world to utilize iRacing to get themselves more familiar with those type of tracks. But for ovals, there's not much learning the track. It's just the track's pretty straightforward. So I think the racecraft is where you can improve, better judgment, better choices, so you don't go out there and just do a bunch of bad things.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up for Xfinity or Ask Junior. That's it.
Yeah, thank y'all for tuning in. Show will be out later today. Thank you, Xfinity Mobile and Xfinity Wi-Fi. Customers will get exclusive access with Xfinity Mobile up to with the most powerful Wi-Fi network on the go. Speeds up to a gig. Fast downloads for turn-by-turn action, smooth live streaming for fewer pit stops, and a strong connection from the parking lot to the grandstand. So for more laps and less lag, stay connected with Xfinity Mobile. Thank you, Xfinity, and appreciate everybody for tuning in. It's going to be a lot of fun this week. We got a lot of great shows coming out. We'll see you next time.
We're clear.